Oh. Wait, okay. Okay, there we go. Oh my gosh, I bumped my mic and it made it stop working temporarily, but it looks like we are all good to go. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday, isn't it? How are we? How are we doing? I want to know. And if you don't want to tell me, I get it. Maybe you're not feeling that chatty. Maybe it's been a long day. Maybe you just don't feel like talking. Tuesdays are kind of whack. But I do love it when you talk to me. I love when you guys tell me what's going on in your world. So please share. But in the meantime, who do we got? Who do we got? Hi, Arctic. Welcome in. Thank you for the check in. You're welcome. Oh, you're at 69 sun rays. Nice. Hi, Piezotic. Thank you for the check in. Vader. Thank you for the check in. Order 66 is commenced. Oh my gosh, you're funny. Mic is fixed. Exhausted. You're exhausted. You're repping Team V. What's Team V? You had to work in the most disgusting house today and you crawl. Soon! Dang it. Soon, Coon. Thank you. Bear in this weekend Splatfest. I don't know what that is either. Hi, Soon Coon. Welcome in. And I'm sorry you had to crawl in a septic tank, Yerp. And also, hello to anyone else that's here that maybe just hasn't made themselves known yet. I'm so happy you're here. And like I said, I hope you are having the most lovely Tuesday possible. You want me to ask the Magic 8 Ball a question for you? I shall. You know, this is like my religion. I started a cult with a friend and we swear by these things. Okay. Magic 8 Ball, Magic 8 Ball, reach into the Shadow Realm and grant me this knowledge. Should Yerp order food? Yes. There you have it. Order food, Yerp. You've been waiting till I got here? Oh no, I'm sorry it was delayed. Well, if some of you guys are in my Discord, then you probably saw the message. I had therapy today, so that's why the stream started a little later. But we are here. We are golden, and let me tell you how I'm doing. You love cults? Me too. And I think I'd be a great cult leader. Anyways, how was therapy? Oh my god, I love this question. It was a lot. Therapy is a lot. But it was good. I can't really complain. Like I had a good time. I had a good time. I had a good time considering what it was, you know? Like I feel better, I guess. Or I guess I should just say I feel okay. And that's okay. The thing that I really need to work on is you know, my affirmations. I could probably stand to do a few more of those. So we're gonna try that out. I want you guys to repeat after me if it's in your practice, and if it's not, that's fine. I'm gonna do it here. Even when I am not my greatest, I accept myself as I am, and I love myself. And that's the thing that I need to start saying every day. So we're just going to keep saying it until eventually I really, 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 really feel it. And that is the tea. That is the tea. Monday night, I went to Pole, which was great. I had a wonderful class. It was a flow class. I think I'm finally officially going to buy some new heels because mine are looking really torn up. And I know I talk about this all the time, but this is the time for real, y'all. It looks like Thursday I'll be collabing with the homies, getting back to Baldur's Gate 3. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So that is some other exciting news. And then I had a good day at work, and I started a new book. Oh my gosh, I didn't even tell you guys. So you guys know I went out and bought 3 books, and we're gonna get to finishing this last book here in a second. But before I start that, let me tell you, I started this new book, and I am burning through it. It's called The Light That We Lost by Jill Santa Polo or Santanola. I don't know. She got a really long name, but it's amazing, and I should know it, and I will know her name soon. But the book is incredible. It definitely has been making me sad, but I can't cry at work, so I'm holding it in, guys. I'm holding it in. I swear. So yeah, 10 out of 10 book. I will talk more about it. Um, I just don't feel like recapping it right now because today we are finishing. And Yerp, could you please pin this message for me? Hold on, I'm gonna write it out. 18. Let it out. Let it go. Toasty is reading. It's in his. Ay. Come on, Toast. His Kiss by Julia Quinn. I know I'm blushing. All right, if you could pin that for me, that would be tops. Today we are going to be finishing It's in His Kiss by Julia Quinn. If you've been here the past however many Sundays it's been, I've been working my way through this last Bridgerton book, or no, the second to last Bridgerton book. It's number 7 out of 8. There's a ton of things that I could say about the recap, but we're not gonna. I'm just gonna keep it brief. We're in the end game, right? Gareth has told Hyacinth, hey, I'm illegitimate. How do you feel? And she's like, oh my God, that don't even bother me. But I found out who your real dad is. Boom, it's your uncle. And he's like, oh my God, I knew it. Just kidding. He didn't know it, but he did know it because his uncle actually loved him. So now they're going to stick it to the man and tell his dad, I assume, and they're going to get married. I feel like there's a lot to wrap up in this final chapter. Hi, Loco. Welcome in. Thank you for the check-in. Enjoy your sun rays. I'm opening up the virtual cottage while I kind of get this together. I do feel like there is a lot that's going to be wrapped up in these final 3 chapters. Once he knew it, he realized it was the truth. Exactly. Let me stop this music and jump into this. Get into it. Oh my God, I am ginormous. Why am I so big? It's because I used the other, that's a huge bear. That's what he said, maybe? Okay, sorry. I'll see myself out. Oh my gosh. Toasty, get the dang book. There we go. There's the door. I'll see myself out. No, okay, so yeah, they have to get married, right? And then we have 2 epilogues. So we have 1 chapter, 1 final chapter, and 2 epilogues. And the epilogues are kind of what happens after the story. How is she gonna wrap this up, you might ask? No idea. But I can't wait to find out. Okay, I hope this sounds okay with you guys. Every once in a while you say something that is so surprising. That's what I do. That's what I do. Let me see if the last page from the last chapter has any relevance to what we were talking about. I'm sure they're gonna get it on again, like they always do. So, oh, and they're getting, so they just made love again, right? They did it. It was awesome. They banged. Cool. We love it. Yes. And now they're gonna sneak off to the Baron St. Clair's house to hopefully find these jewels that they've been trying to find from, you know, the grandma. Ow, son of a, my hair got caught in my headphone. Also, I went to the gym today. Sorry, I forgot to say that. Okay, I went to the gym. I did arms. They're about to sneak off to the Baron St. Clair's house, right? They're gonna sneak off there and try to find these jewels that they've been tracking down in the, you know, the grandma's diary that's written in Italian, where they also found out about the status of his loins, his bloodline. And yeah, I really don't know how they're gonna fit everything in this last chapter. They have to fit in the, you know, the finding of the jewels if they do find them, and the banging, because I'm sure they will, and the wedding if they even decide to do that. So yeah, here we go, guys. Every time you say Baron St. Clair, I think you're gonna say Bernstein Bears. First of all, do you guys remember? No, we'll talk about that in a bit. Every time we touch, I get this feeling. Don't distract me. Here we go, guys. Chapter 21. No more distractions. As always, I'm going to read a chapter, and then we'll talk about it. Then I'll read another chapter, and we'll talk. And one more chapter. Chapter 21. 1.5 hours later. We're not going to find them. Hyacinth had her hands planted on her hips as she surveyed the Baroness's bedchamber. They had spent 15 minutes getting to Clare House, 5 sneaking in through the faulty window and creeping up to the bedchamber, and the last 10 searching every last nook and corner. The jewels were nowhere. It was not like Hyacinth to admit defeat. In fact, it was so wholly out of character that the words, "We're not going to find them," had come out sounding more surprised than anything else. It hadn't occurred to her that they might not find the jewels. She imagined the scene 100 times in her head. She plotted and planned, she thought the entire scheme to death, and not once had she ever pictured herself coming up empty-handed. She felt as if she'd slammed into a brick wall. Maybe she had been foolishly optimistic, maybe she had just been blind, but this time, she'd been wrong. "Do you give up?" Gareth asked, looking up at her. He was crouching next to the bed, feeling for panels in the wall behind the headboard, and he sounded not pleased exactly, but rather somewhat done, if that made any sense. He'd known that they weren't going to find anything, or if he hadn't known it, he had been almost sure of it, and he'd come tonight mostly just to humor her. Hyacinth decided she loved him all the more for that. But now, his expression, his aspect, everything in his voice seemed to say one thing. "We tried, we lost, can we please just move on?" There was no satisfied smirk, no "I told you so," just a flat, matter-of-fact stare, with perhaps the barest hint of disappointment, as if a tiny corner of him had been hoping to be proven wrong. "Hyacinth?" Gareth said when she didn't reply. Well, she didn't know what to say. "We haven't much time," he cut in, his face taking on a steely expression. Clearly, her time for reflection was over. He rose to his feet, brushing his hands against each other to rid them of dust. The Baroness' bedchamber had been shut off, and it didn't appear to be on a regular cleaning schedule. Tonight is the Baron's monthly meeting with his hound breeding club. "Hound breeding?" Hyacinth echoed. "In London?" "They meet on the last Tuesday of the month without fail," Gareth explained. "They've been doing it for years, to keep abreast of pertinent knowledge while they're in London." "Does pertinent knowledge change very often?" Hyacinth asked. It was just the sort of random tidbit of information that always interested her. "I have no idea," Gareth replied briskly. "It's probably just an excuse to get together and drink. The meetings always end at 11, and they spend about 2 hours in social discourse, which means the Baron will be home." He pulled out his pocket watch and swore under his breath. "Now." Hyacinth nodded glumly. "I give up," she said. "I don't think I've ever uttered those words, while not under duress. But I give up." Hyacinth... Oh, wait. Gareth chucked her softly under her chin. "It's not the end of the world, Hy. And just think, you may resume your mission once the Baron finally kicks off, and I inherit the house, which," he added thoughtfully, "I actually might have some right to." He shook his head. "Imagine that." "Do you think Isabella meant for anyone to find them?" she asked. "I don't know," Gareth replied. "One would think that if she had, she might have chosen a more accessible language for her final hint than Slovene." "We should go," Hyacinth said, sighing. "I need to return home in any case. If I'm to pester my mother for a change in the wedding date, I want to do it now, while she's sleepy and easy to sway." Gareth looked at her over his shoulder as he placed his hand on the doorknob. "You are diabolical." "You didn't believe it before?" He smiled, then gave her a nod when it was safe to creep out into the hall. Together they moved down the stairs to the drawing room with the faulty window. Swiftly and silently, they slipped outside and hopped down to the alley below. Gareth walked in front, stopping at the alley's end and stretching one arm behind him to keep Hyacinth at a distance while he peered out onto Dover Street. "Let's go," he whispered, jerking his head toward the street. They had come over in a hansom cab. Gareth's apartments were not quite close enough to walk, and they left it waiting 2 intersections away. It wasn't really necessary to ride back to Hyacinth's house, which was just on the other side of Mayfair, but Gareth had decided that as long as they had the cab, they might as well make use of it. There was a good spot where they could be let out, right around the corner from number 5, that was set back in the shadows and with very few windows looking out upon it. "This way," Gareth said, taking Hyacinth's hand and tugging her along. "Come on, we can..." He stopped, stumbled. Hyacinth had halted in her tracks. "What is it?" he hissed, turning to look at her. But she wasn't looking at him. Instead, her eyes were focused on someone to the right. The Baron. Gareth froze. Lord St. Clair, his father, his uncle, whatever he should call him, was standing at the top of the steps leading to Clare House. His key was in his hand, and he had obviously spotted them just as he was about to enter the building. "This is interesting," the Baron said. His eyes glittered. Gareth felt his chest puff out, some sort of instinctive show of bravado as he pushed Hyacinth partly behind him. "Sir," he said. It was all he'd ever called the man, and some habits were hard to break. "Imagine my curiosity," the Baron murmured. "This is the second time I have run across you here in the middle of the night." Gareth said nothing. "And now," Lord St. Clair motioned to Hyacinth, "you have brought your lovely betrothed with you. Unorthodox, I must say. Does her family know she is running about after midnight?" "What do you want?" Gareth asked in a hard voice, but the Baron only chuckled. "I believe the more pertinent question is, what do you want? Unless you intend to attempt to convince me that you are just here for the fresh night air." Gareth stared at him, looking for signs of resemblance. They were all there, the nose, the eyes, the way they held their shoulders. It was why Gareth had never, until that fateful day in the Baron's office, thought he might be a bastard. He'd been so baffled as a child. His father had treated him with such contempt. Once he'd grown old enough to understand a bit of what went on between men and women, he had wondered about it. His mother's infidelity would seem a likely explanation for his father's behavior toward him. But he dismissed the notion every time. There was that damned St. Clair nose, right in the middle of his face. And then the Baron had looked him in the eye and said that he was not his, that he couldn't be, and that the nose was mere coincidence. Gareth had believed him. The Baron was many things, but he was not stupid, and he certainly knew how to count to 9. Neither of them had dreamed that the nose might be something more than coincidence, that Gareth might be a St. Clair after all. He tried to remember. Had the Baron loved his brother? Had Richard and Edward St. Clair been close? Gareth couldn't recall them in each other's company, but then again, he'd been banished to the nursery most of the time anyway. "Well," the Baron demanded, "what do you have to say for yourself?" And there it was, on the tip of his tongue. Gareth looked him in the eye, the man who had, for so many years, been the ruling force in his life. And he almost said nothing at all, Uncle Richard. It would have been the best kind of direct hit, a complete surprise designed to stagger and strike. It would have been worth it just for the shock on the Baron's face. It would have been perfect. Except that Gareth didn't want to do it. He didn't need to. And that took his breath away. Before, he would have tried to guess how his father might feel. Would he be relieved to know that the barony would go to a true St. Clair? Or would he instead be enraged, devastated by the knowledge that he had been cuckolded by his own brother? Before, Gareth would have weighed his options, balanced them, then gone with his instincts and tried to deliver the most crushing blow. But now, he didn't care. He would never love the man. Hell, he would never even like him. But for the first time in his life, he was reaching a point where it just didn't matter. And he was stunned by how good that felt. He took Hyacinth's hand, interlocked their fingers. "We're just out for a stroll," he said smoothly. It was a patently ridiculous statement, but Gareth delivered it with his usual savoir-faire, in the same tone that he always used with the Baron. "Come along, Miss Bridgerton," he added, turning his body to lead her down the street. But Hyacinth didn't move. Gareth turned to look at her, and she seemed frozen into place. She looked at him with questioning eyes, and he knew she couldn't believe that he'd held silent. Gareth looked at her, and then he looked at Lord St. Clair, and then he looked within himself. And he realized that while his never-ending war with the Baron might not matter, the truth did. Not because it had the power to wound, just because it was the truth. And it had to be told. It was a secret that had defined both their lives for so long. And it was time that they were both set free. "I have to tell you something," Gareth said, looking the Baron in the eye. It wasn't easy, being this direct. He had no experience speaking to this man without malice. He felt strange, stripped bare. Lord St. Clair said nothing, but his expression changed slightly, became more watchful. "I am in possession of Grandmother St. Clair's diary," Gareth said. At the Baron's startled expression, he added, "Caroline found it among George's effects with a note instructing her to give it to me." "He did not know that you are not her grandson," the Baron said sharply. Gareth opened his mouth to retort, "But I was," but he managed to bite off the comment. He would do this right. He had to do this right. Hyacinth was at his side, and suddenly his angry ways seemed callow, immature. He didn't want her to see him like that. He didn't want to be like that. Miss Bridgerton has some knowledge of Italian, Gareth continued, keeping his voice even. She has assisted me in its translation. The Baron looked at Hyacinth. His piercing eyes studying her for a moment before turning back to Gareth. Isabella knew who my father was, Gareth said softly. It was Uncle Edward. The Baron said nothing, not a word, except for the slight parting of his lips. He was so still that Gareth wondered if he was even breathing. Had he known? Had he suspected? As Gareth and Hyacinth stood in silence, the Baron turned and looked down the street, his eyes settling on some far-off point. When he turned back, he was as white as a sheet. He cleared his throat and nodded, just once as an acknowledgement. You should marry that girl, he said, motioning with his head toward Hyacinth. The Lord knows you're going to need her dowry. And then he walked up the rest of the steps, let himself into his home, and shut the door. That's all? Hyacinth said after a moment of just standing there with her mouth agape. That's all he was going to say? Gareth felt himself begin to shake. It was laughter, he realized, almost as an aside. He was laughing. He can't do that, Hyacinth protested, her eyes flashing with indignation. You just revealed the biggest secret of both of your lives, and all he does is... Are you laughing? Gareth shook his head, even though it was clear that he was. What's so funny? Hyacinth asked suspiciously. And her expression was so... her. It made him laugh even harder. What's so funny? She asked again, except this time she looked as if she might smile too. Gareth, she persisted, tugging on his sleeve, tell me. He shrugged helplessly. I'm happy, he said, and he realized it was true. He enjoyed himself in his life, and he'd certainly had many happy moments, but it had been so long since he'd felt this happiness, complete and whole. He'd almost forgotten the sensation. She placed her hand abruptly on his brow. Are you feverish? She muttered. I'm fine. He pulled her into his arms. I'm better than fine. Gareth, she gasped, ducking away as he swooped down for a kiss. Are you mad? We're in the middle of Dover Street, and it's... He cut her off with a kiss. It's the middle of the night, she spluttered. He grinned devilishly. But I'm gonna marry you next week, remember? Yes, but... Speaking of which, he murmured. Hyacinth's mouth fell open as he dropped down to one knee. What are you doing? She squeaked, frantically looking this way and that. Lord St. Clair was surely peeking out at them, and heaven only knew who else was, too. Someone will see, she whispered. He seemed unconcerned. People will say we're in love. Good heavens, but how did a woman argue against that? Hyacinth Bridgerton, he said, taking her hand in his. Will you marry me? She blinked in confusion. I already said I would. Yes, but as you said, I did not ask you for the right reasons. They were mostly the right reasons, but not all. She was stumbling on the words, choking on the emotion. He was staring up at her, his eyes glowing clear and blue in the dim light of the street lamps. I am asking you to marry me because I love you, he said. Because I cannot imagine living my life without you. I want to see your face in the morning, and then at night, and 100 times in between. I want to grow old with you. I want to laugh with you, and I want to sigh to my friends about how managing you are. All the while secretly knowing I am the luckiest man in town. What? She demanded. He shrugged. A man's got to keep up appearances. I'll be universally detested if everyone realizes how perfect you are. Oh. Again, how could a woman argue with that? And then his eyes grew serious. I want you to be my family. I want you to be my wife. She stared down at him. He was gazing at her with such obvious love and devotion. She hardly knew what to do. It seemed to surround her, embrace her, and she knew that this was poetry. This was music. This was love. He smiled up at her, and all she could do was smile back dimly, aware that her cheeks were growing wet. Hyacinth, she said, or he said, Hyacinth. And she nodded, or at least she thought she did. He squeezed her hands as he rose to his feet. I never thought I'd have to say this to you, of all people, but for God's sake, say something, woman. Yes, she said, and she threw herself into his arms. Yes. And that was the final chapter. Crazy. The final official chapter, and unfortunately, I have to say I'm not satisfied. I really, 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 really wanted a little bit more, but it looks like hopefully the next 2 chapters, they're the epilogues, so it's what comes after it. Did they not find the jewels? No, they didn't find the jewels, and when he told his dad, it wasn't even that satisfying. Hi, Billy. There we go. They had Discord back then. Hardy har. Hi, Kazia. Thank you for the check-in, Billy. This is Sparta. I know, right? Say something. Chess kicks her into a pit. They didn't find the jewels. You're not either. You wanted to keep going. It wasn't. It was super anticlimactic. Thank goodness there are 2 epilogues. So there's the first epilogue that she wrote for the book, right? That came with it. And then she wrote a second epilogue because probably the popularity of the Bridgerton story, she felt like she just wanted to give the readers just a little bit more. A little bit more, you know? So, there we go. There we go. And that is the tea. Sounds like she found plenty of jewels. She did. I wanted the Baron to be like, I knew it. I always knew it. That whore or something. Like, I wanted something explosive. The fact that all he said was that, you know, was kind of whack. Like, that was really ominous. So that means 2 things. He's probably been running up a ton of debt, right? But maybe to him, he just felt like maybe he didn't want to give Gareth the satisfaction of knowing, hey, you got to me. That's the only explanation I can think for why he didn't say anything, you know? But still, that was a little whack. I needed a little more from that interaction, right? I'm glad I'm not the only one feeling shortchanged. So as a special treat for finishing this book, if any spicy scenes come up, I will read them in their entirety, but not in a lewd way. I'm just going to read them as they are. So you guys can have just that little bit since I haven't been reading them. But this isn't going to be like a fancy audiobook, guys. It's just going to be me reading them how they are. Wait, there's a lewd way? Yeah, there's a lewd way. People read spicy, slutty books all the time in lewd ways. But that's not this kind of stream. And I definitely wouldn't dish out that content for free. So yeah. I am your father. Spitefully getting in debt. Just screw your kids. Yup. You act like I know these things. I feel like maybe everybody knows, but nonetheless, we are gonna finish. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into this next epilogue, and hopefully these are more satisfying. Let's switch it up, huh? Let's go. Let's do the snowy times. Hopefully this isn't too bad, guys. You could do audiobooks. Your voice is mesmerizing to listen to. Thank you, Yerp. I would love to do that if I had the time. Okay, here we go. Epilogue. A few moments to bring us up to date. 4 days after the end of our tale, Gareth called upon Lord Rotham, only to find out that the Earl in no way felt the betrothal was binding, especially after he related Lady Bridgerton's promise to take one of the younger Rotham daughters under her wing the following season. 4 days after that, Gareth was informed by Lady Bridgerton in no uncertain manner that her youngest child would not be married in haste, and he was forced to wait 2 months before wedding Hyacinth in an elaborate yet tasteful ceremony at St. George's in London. 11 months after that, Hyacinth gave birth to a healthy baby boy, christened George. 2 years after that, they were blessed with a daughter, christened Isabella. 4 years after that, Lord St. Clair was thrown away from his horse during a fox hunt and instantly killed. Gareth assumed the title, and he and Hyacinth moved to their new town residence at Clare House. That was 6 years ago. She has been looking for the jewels ever since. Haven't you already searched this room? Hyacinth looked up from her position on the floor of the Baroness's washroom. Gareth was standing in the doorway, gazing down at her with an indulgent expression. Not for at least a month, she replied, testing the baseboards for loose sections as if she hadn't yanked and prodded them countless times before. Darling, Gareth said, and she knew from his tone what he was thinking. She gave him a pointed look. Don't. Darling, he said again. No, she turned back to the baseboards. I don't want to hear it. If it takes until the day I die, I will find these bloody jewels. Hyacinth. She ignored him, pressing along the seam where the baseboard met the floor. Gareth watched her for several seconds before remarking, I'm quite certain you've done that before. She spared him only the briefest of glances before rising to inspect the window frame. Hyacinth, he said. She turned so suddenly that she almost lost her balance. The note said, cleanliness is next to godliness, and the kingdom of heaven is rich indeed. In Slovene, he said wryly. 3 Slovenians, she reminded him. 3 Slovenians read the clue, and they all reached the same translation. And it certainly hadn't been easy to find 3 Slovenians. Hyacinth, Gareth said, as if he hadn't already uttered her name twice, and countless times before that, always in the same slightly resigned tone. It has to be here, she said. It has to. Gareth shrugged. Very well, he said, but Isabella has translated a passage from the Italian, and she wishes for you to check her work. Hyacinth paused, sighed, and then lifted her fingers from the windowsill. At the age of 8, her daughter had announced that she wished to learn the language of her namesake, and Hyacinth and Gareth had hired a tutor to offer instruction 3 mornings each week. Within a year, Isabella's fluency had outstripped her mother's, and Hyacinth was forced to employ the tutor for herself the other 2 mornings just to keep up. Why is it that you've never studied Italian? She asked as Gareth led her through the bedroom and into the hallway. I've no head for languages, he said blithely, and no need for it, with my 2 ladies at my side. Hyacinth rolled her eyes. I am not going to tell you any more naughty words, she warned. He chuckled. Then I'm not going to slip Signora Orsini any more pound notes with instructions to teach you the naughty words. Hyacinth turned to him in horror. You didn't! I did. Her lips pursed. And you don't even look the least bit remorseful about it. Remorseful? He chuckled deep in his throat and then leaned down to press his lips against her ear. There were a few words of Italian he bothered to commit to memory. He whispered every one of them to her. Gareth, she squeaked. Gareth, yes? Or Gareth, no? She sighed. She couldn't help it. Gareth more. Isabella St. Clair tapped her pencil against the side of her head as she regarded the words she'd recently written. It was a challenge, translating from one language to another. The literal meaning never quite read right, so one had to choose one's idioms with the utmost of care. But this, she glanced over at the open page in Galileo's Discorso intorno alle cose che stanno in su la acqua o che in quella si muovono. This was perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Her favorite 3 words. She glanced through the door, waiting for her mother to appear. Isabella loved translating scientific texts because her mother always seemed to stumble on the technical words, and it was, of course, always good fun to watch her mom pretend that she actually knew more Italian than her daughter. Not that Isabella was mean-spirited. She pursed her lips, considering that. She wasn't mean-spirited. The only person she adored more than her mother was her great-grandmother, Danbury, who, although confined to a wheelchair, still managed to wield her cane with almost as much accuracy as her tongue. Isabella smiled. When she grew up, she wanted to be first exactly like her mother, and then, when she was through with that, just like great-grandmama. She sighed. It would be a marvelous life. But what was taking so long? It had been ages since she'd sent her father down, and it should be added that she loved him with more equal fervor. It was just that he was merely a man, and she couldn't very well aspire to grow up to be him. She grimaced. Her mother and father were probably giggling and whispering and ducking into a darkened corner. Good heavens, it was downright embarrassing. Isabella stood, resigning herself to a long wait. She might as well use the washroom. Carefully setting her pencil down, she glanced one last time at the door and crossed the room to the nursery washroom. Tucked high in the eaves of the old mansion, it was somewhat unexpectedly her favorite room in the house. Someone in years gone past had obviously taken a liking to the little room, and it had been tiled rather festively in what she could only assume was some sort of Eastern fashion. There were lovely blues and shimmering aquas and yellows that were streaks of pure sunshine. If it had been big enough for Isabella to drag in a bed and call it her chamber, she would have done it. As it was, she thought it was particularly amusing that the loveliest room in the house, in her opinion at least, was the most humble. The nursery washroom, only the servants' quarters were considered of less prestige. Isabella did her business, tucked the chamber pot back in the corner, and headed back for the door. But before she got there, something caught her eye. A crack between two of the tiles. That wasn't there before, Isabella murmured. She crouched, then finally lowered herself to the bottom so that she could inspect the crack, which ran from the floor to the top of the first tile, about 6 inches up. It wasn't the sort of thing most people would notice, but Isabella was not most people. She noticed everything. And this was something new. Frustrated with her inability to get really close, she shifted to her forearms and knees, then laid her cheek against the floor. She poked the tile to the right of the crack, then the left. Why would a crack suddenly open up in her bathroom wall? Surely Clare House, which was well over 100 years old, was done with its shifting and settling. And while she heard that there were far distant areas where the earth shifted and shook, it didn't happen any place as civilized as London. Had she kicked the wall without thinking? Dropped something? She poked again and again. She drew back her arm, preparing to pound a little harder, but then stopped. Her mother's bathroom was directly below. If she made a terrible racket, Mummy was sure to come up and demand to know what she was doing. And although she'd sent her father down to retrieve her mother eons earlier, it was quite a good bet that Mummy was still in her washroom. And when Mummy went into her washroom, well, either she was out in a minute or she was there for an hour. It was the strangest thing. So Isabella did not want to make a lot of noise. Surely her parents would frown upon her taking the house apart. But perhaps a little tap. She did a little nursery rhyme to decide which tile to attack. Chose the one to the left and hit it a little harder. Nothing happened. She stuck her fingernail at the edge of the crack and dug it in. A tiny piece of plaster lodged under her nail. Perhaps she could extend the crack. She glanced over at her vanity table until her eyes fell upon a silver comb. That might work. She grabbed it and carefully positioned the last tooth near the edge of the crack, and then, with precise movements, she drew it back and tapped it against the plaster that ran between the tiles. The crack snaked upward, right before her eyes. She did it again, this time positioning her comb over the left tile. Nothing. She tried it over the right. And then harder. Isabella gasped as the crack literally shot through the plaster until it ran all the way along the top of the tile. And then she did it a few more times until it ran down the other side. With bated breath, she dug her nails in on either side of the tile and pulled. She shifted it back and forth, shimmying and jimmying, prying with all her might. And then, with a creak and a groan that reminded her of the way her great-grandmother moved when she managed to hoist herself from her wheelchair into her bed, the tile gave away. Isabella set it down carefully, then peered at what was left, where there should have been nothing but wall. There was a little compartment, just a few inches square. Isabella reached in, pinching her fingers together to make her hand long and skinny. She felt something soft, like velvet. She pulled it out. It was a little bag held together with a soft, silky cord. Isabella straightened quickly, crossing her legs so that she was sitting Indian style. She slid one finger inside the bag, widening the mouth, which had been pulled tight. And then with her right hand, she upended it, sliding the contents into her left. Oh my... Isabella quickly swallowed her shriek. A veritable pool of diamonds had showered into her hand. It was a necklace and a bracelet, and while she did not think of herself as the sort of girl who lost her mind over baubles and clothes, oh my God, these were the most beautiful things she had ever seen. Isabella? Her mother. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Isabella, where are you? In. She stopped to clear her throat. Her voice had come out like a squeak. Just in the washroom, Mummy. I'll be out in a moment. What should she do? What should she do? Oh, very well. She knew what she should do, but what did she want to do? Is this your translation here on the table? Came her mother's voice. Yes, she coughed. It's from Galileo. The original is right next to it. Oh, her mother paused. Her voice sounded funny. Why did you... Never mind. Isabella looked frantically at the jewels. She had only a moment to decide. Isabella, her mother called. Did you remember to do your sums this morning? You're starting dancing lessons this afternoon. Did you recall? Dancing lessons. Isabella's face twisted, rather as if she'd swallowed lie. Monsieur LaRouche will be here at 2 promptly, so you will need... Isabella stared at the diamonds. Hard. So hard that her peripheral vision slipped away, and the noise around her faded into nothing. Gone were the sounds of the street, floating through the open window. Gone was her mother's voice, droning on about dancing lessons and the importance of punctuality. Gone was everything, but the blood rushing past her ears and the quick, uneven sound of her own breath. Isabella looked down at the diamonds, and then she smiled and put them back. Man! Damn it! I hate that. How many places can there be to hide stuff? I know, right? Gareth, uppercut. Gareth, attack. She's gonna hide it. She's gonna hide them and High will never find them. I hate that. I hate that she just hid them. Why you ain't give them to your ma? This book is pissing me off. What a bratty little girl. Also, like, don't you guys think it's a little weird that George wasn't mentioned at all, right? They only talked about Isabella. I mean, I get it, but on a greater sense, I don't. You know? Like, they talked about Isabella knowing the languages, you know? But they didn't talk about George, other than his name. I don't want to say they favor their daughter, but... kind of sounded like it. Okay. Let's talk business. We have one epilogue to go, guys. One more epilogue, and then this book is done for. Over. Finito. Right? I hate how it wrapped up that other proposal thing as just like a side, not after the story was already over. Oh yeah. Right? Like being like, oh, it's not valid anymore. Like, I mean, I guess, right? Like, why did the... I don't know. It's cool that the Baron died. I love that. That's awesome. That's one thing that I liked about this next book, you know? I would have liked to hear about their wedding and the vows that they said. I would have liked to hear about, like, more... Like, okay. Hyacinth not knowing her dad was, like, a big deal in the beginning, and then they like never mentioned him for the rest of the story. Not even Violet, when she spoke with Hyacinth one-on-one, did they talk about the story, you know? And in a lot of the books, there is a lot of moments where Violet has kind of like a big turning point where she makes her kids feel just amazing. I guess she kind of had that with Hyacinth a little bit, but not to the same extent that I felt like it was in the other books, you know? Why bring it up during the story if it just wasn't gonna matter at all? Exactly. And they didn't, like, I would have liked to see more talks about him interacting with the family. How, you know, I don't know. I'm not satisfied with this book. This definitely is not one of my favorites. We're gonna re-rank them here in a second. Yeah. You know, it's okay. Anyways, guys, let's finish this up. We got one more epilogue, and then I'll probably play a game of Hearthstone, just cause, right? Just to play. So, let's get it going, right? I feel like so many things were just either forgotten about or were just wrapped up in a sentence. Yeah, I just wanted more development, right? Like with Sophie and Benedict's love story, there was so much more development. Even Eloise and Eloise and Philip, there was a lot. Francesca, Michael, and like there was a lot there too. But this one just felt like it was lacking. Just to spend some time with us. Yep. Trinkets are coming back. Nice. I like trinkets. Here we go. It's in his kiss, the second epilogue. "1847, and all has come full circle, truly." It was official then. She had become her mother. Hyacinth St. Clair fought the urge to bury her face in her hands as she sat on the cushioned bench at Madame Langlois' dressmaker, by far the most fashionable modiste in all London. She counted to 10 in 3 languages, and then, just for good measure, swallowed and let out an exhale. Because really, it would not do to lose her temper in such a public setting, no matter how desperately she wanted to throttle her daughter. "Mummy?" Isabella poked her head out from behind the curtain. Hyacinth noted that the word had been a statement, not a question. "Yes?" She returned, affixing onto her face an expression of such placid serenity she might have been qualified for one of those Pieta paintings they had seen when they last traveled to Rome. "Not the pink." Hyacinth waved a hand, anything to refrain from speaking. "Not the purple either." "I don't believe I suggested the purple," Hyacinth murmured. "The blue's not right, and nor is the red, and frankly, I just don't understand this insistence society seems to have upon white. And well, if I might express my opinion..." Hyacinth felt herself slump. Who knew motherhood could be so tiring? And really, shouldn't she be used to this by now? A girl really ought to wear the color that most complements her complexion, and not what some over-important ninny at Almack's deems fashionable. "I agree wholeheartedly," Hyacinth said. "You do?" Isabella's face lit up, and Hyacinth's breath positively caught, because she looked so much like her own mother in that moment, it was almost eerie. "Yes," Hyacinth said, "but you're still getting at least 1 in white." "But," "No buts, but, Isabella." Isabella muttered something in Italian. "I heard that," Hyacinth said sharply. Isabella smiled, a curve of the lips so sweet that only her own mother, certainly not her father, who freely admitted himself wound around her finger, would recognize the deviousness underneath. "But did you understand it?" she asked, blinking 3 times in rapid succession. And because Hyacinth knew that she would be trapped by her lie, she gritted her teeth and told the truth. "No." "I didn't think so," Isabella said, "but if you're interested, what I said was not..." Hyacinth stopped, forcing her voice to a lower volume. Panic at what Isabella might say had caused her outburst to come out overly loud. She cleared her throat. "Not now, not here," she added meaningfully. Good heavens, her daughter had no sense of propriety. She had such opinions, and while Hyacinth was always in favor of a female with opinions, she was even more in favor of a female who knew when to share such opinions. Isabella stepped out of her dressing room, clad in a lovely gown of white with sage green trimming that Hyacinth knew she'd turn her nose up at, and sat beside her on the bench. "What are you whispering about?" she asked. "I wasn't whispering," Hyacinth said. "Your lips were moving." "Were they?" "They were," Isabella confirmed. "If you must know, I was sending off an apology to your grandmother." "Grandmama Violet?" Isabella asked, looking around. "Is she here?" "No, but I thought she was deserving of my remorse, nonetheless." Isabella blinked and cocked her head to the side in question. "Why?" "All those times," Hyacinth said, hating how tired her voice sounded. "All those times she said to me, 'I hope you have a child, just like you.'" "And you do," Isabella said, surprising her with a light kiss to the cheek. "Isn't it just delightful?" Hyacinth looked at her daughter. Isabella was 19. She made her debut the year before, to grand success. She was, Hyacinth thought rather objectively, far prettier than she herself had ever been. Her hair was a breathtaking strawberry blonde, a throwback to some long-forgotten ancestor on heaven knew which side of the family. And the curls, oh my, they were the bane of Isabella's existence, but Hyacinth adored them. When Isabella had been a toddler, they bounced in perfect little ringlets, completely untamable and always delightful. And now, sometimes Hyacinth looked at her and saw the woman she'd become, and she couldn't even breathe. So powerful was the emotion squeezing across her chest. It was a love she couldn't have imagined, so fierce and so tender, and yet at the same time, the girl drove her positively batty. Right now, for example. Isabella was smiling innocently at her. Too innocently, truth be told. And then she looked down at the slightly poofy skirt on the dress Hyacinth loved, and Isabella would hate, and picked absently at the green ribbon trimmings. "Mummy," she said. It was a question this time, not a statement, which meant that Isabella wanted something, and, for a change, wasn't quite certain how to go about getting it. "Do you think this year—" "No," Hyacinth said, and this time she really did send up a silent apology to her mother. Good heavens, was this what Violet got gone through 8 times? "You don't even know what I was gonna ask." "Of course I know what you were gonna ask. When will you learn that I always know?" Now that is not true. It's more true than it is untrue. You can be quite supercilious. Did you know that? Hyacinth shrugged. "I'm your mother." Isabella's lips clamped into a line, and Hyacinth enjoyed a full 4 seconds of peace before she asked, "But this year, do you think we can—" "We are not traveling." Isabella's lips parted with surprise. Hyacinth fought the urge to let out a triumphal shout. "How did you know?" Hyacinth patted her daughter's hand. "I told you. I always know. And much as I'm sure we would all enjoy a bit of travel, we will remain in London for the season, and you, my girl, will smile and dance and look for a husband." Cue the bit about becoming her mother. Hyacinth sighed. Violet Bridgerton was probably laughing about this very minute. In fact, she'd been laughing about it for 19 years. "Just like you," Violet liked to say, grinning at Hyacinth as she tousled Isabella's curls. "Just like you." "Just like you, mother," Hyacinth murmured with a smile, picturing Violet's face in her mind. "And now, I'm just like you." An hour or so later, Gareth too has grown and changed, although we soon shall see, not in any of the ways that matter. Gareth St. Clair leaned back in his chair, pausing to savor his brandy as he glanced around his office. There really was a remarkable sense of satisfaction in a job well done and completed on time. It wasn't a sensation he'd been used to in his youth, but it was something he'd come to enjoy on a near-daily basis now. It had taken several years to restore the St. Clair fortunes to a respectable level. His father, he never quite got round to calling him anything else, had stopped his systematic plundering and eased into a vague sort of neglect once he learned the truth about Gareth's birth. So Gareth supposed it could have been a great deal worse. But when Gareth had assumed the title, he discovered that he'd inherited debts, mortgages, and houses that had been emptied of all valuables. Hyacinth's dowry, which had increased with prudent investments upon their marriage, went a long way toward fixing the situation, but still, Gareth had to work harder and with more diligence than he'd ever dreamed possible to wrench his family out of debt. The funny thing was, he enjoyed it. Who would have thought that he, of all people, would find such satisfaction in hard work? His desk was spotless, his ledgers neat and tidy, and he could put his fingers on any important document in under a minute. His accounts always summed properly, his properties were thriving, and his tenants were healthy and prosperous. He took another sip of his drink, letting the mellow fire roll down his throat. Heaven. Life was perfect, truly perfect. George was finishing up at Cambridge, Isabella would surely choose a husband this year, and Hyacinth, he chuckled. Hyacinth was still Hyacinth. She'd become a bit more sedate with age, or maybe it was just that motherhood had smoothed off her rough edges. But she was still the same outspoken, delightful, perfectly wonderful Hyacinth. She drove him crazy half the time, but it was a nice sort of crazy. And even though he sometimes sighed to his friends and nodded tiredly when they all complained about their wives, secretly he knew he was the luckiest man in London, hell, England even, the world. He set his drink down, then tapped his fingers against the elegantly wrapped box sitting on the corner of his desk. He purchased it that morning at Madame Lafleur, the dress shop he knew Hyacinth did not frequent, in order to spare her the embarrassment of having to deal with salespeople who knew every piece of lingerie in her wardrobe. French silk, Belgian lace. He smiled. Just a little bit of French silk, trimmed with a minuscule amount of Belgian lace. It would look heavenly on her. What there was of it. He sat back in his chair, savoring the daydream. It was going to be a long, lovely night. Maybe even... His eyebrows rose as he tried to remember his wife's schedule for the day. Maybe even a long, lovely afternoon. When was she due at home? And would she have either of the children with her? He closed his eyes, picturing her in various states of undress, followed by various interesting poses, followed by various fascinating activities. He groaned. She was going to have to return home very soon, because his imagination was far too active not to be satisfied. And Gareth! Not the most mellifluous of tones, the lovely erotic haze floating about his head disappeared entirely. Well, almost entirely. Hyacinth might not have looked the least bit inclined for a bit of afternoon sport as she stood in the doorway. Her eyes narrowed and jaw clenched, but she was there, and that was half the battle. Shut the door, he murmured, rising to his feet. Do you know what your daughter did? Your daughter, you mean? Our daughter, she ground out, but she shut the door. Do I want to know? Gareth! Very well, he sighed, followed by a dutiful, what did she do? He'd had this conversation before, of course, countless times. The answer usually had something to do with something involving marriage and Isabella's somewhat unconventional views on the subject. And of course, Hyacinth's frustration with the whole situation. It rarely varied. Well, it wasn't so much what she did, Hyacinth said. He hid a smiled. This was also not unexpected. It's more of what she won't do. Jump to your bidding? Gareth? He halved the distance between them. Aren't I enough? I beg your pardon? He reached out, tugged at her hand, pulled her gently against him. I always jump to your bidding, he murmured. She recognized the look in his eye. Now? She twisted around until she could see the closed door. Isabella's upstairs. She won't hear. But she could. His lips found her neck. There's a lock on the door. But she'll know. He started working on the buttons of her frock. He was very good at buttons. She's a smart girl, he said, stepping back to enjoy his handiwork as the fabric fell away. He loved when his wife didn't wear a chemise. Gareth! He leaned down and took one rosy-tipped breast into his mouth before she could object. Oh, Gareth. Her knees went weak, just enough for him to scoop her up and take her to the sofa, the one with extra deep cushions. More? Oh yes, she groaned. He slid his hand under her skirt until he could tickle her senseless. Such token resistance, he murmured. Admit it, you always want me. 20 years of marriage isn't admission enough? 22 years, and I want to hear it from your lips. She moaned when he slipped his hand down her pants. Almost always, she conceded, I almost always want you. He sighed for dramatic effect even as he smiled into her neck. I shall have to work harder then. He looked up at her. She was gazing down at him with an arch expression, clearly over her fleeting attempt to uproot rightness and respectability. Much harder, she agreed. And a bit faster too while you're at it. He laughed out loud at that. Gareth! Hyacinth might be a wanton in private, but she was always aware of the servants. Don't worry, he said with a smile. I'll be quiet, be very quiet. And with one easy movement, he bunched her skirts well above her waist and slid down until his head was between her legs. It's you, my darling, who will have to control your volume. He licked her, and she tasted like heaven, and when she squirmed, it was always a treat. He smiled against her and kept going until she let out a quiet little streak. He loved doing this to her, loved bringing her, his capable and articulate wife, to senseless abandon. 22 years. Who would have thought that after 22 years, he'd still want this one woman, and this one woman only, and this one woman so intensely? She was panting as she called his name. More, more. He redoubled his efforts, and she was close. He knew her so well, knew the curve and shape of her body, the way she moved when she was aroused, and the way she breathed when she wanted him, and she was close. And then she was gone, aching and gasping until her body went limp. He chuckled to himself as she batted him away. She always did that when she was done, saying she couldn't bear one more touch, that surely she'd die if she wasn't given the chance to float down to normalcy. He moved, curling against her body until he could see her face. "That was nice," she said. He lifted a brow. "Nice?" "Very nice." "Nice enough to reciprocate?" Her lips curved. "Oh, I don't know if it was that nice." His hand went to his trousers. "I shall have to offer a repeat engagement then." Her lips parted in surprise. "A variation on a theme, if you will." She twisted her neck to look down. "What are you doing?" He grinned lasciviously. "Enjoying the fruits of my labor." And then she gasped as he slid inside her, and he gasped from the sheer pleasure of it all. And then he thought how very much he loved her. And then he thought nothing much at all. The following day. We didn't really think that Hyacinth would give up, did we? Late afternoon found Hyacinth back at her second favorite pastime. Although favorite didn't seem quite the right adjective, nor was pastime the correct noun. Compulsion probably fit the description better, as did miserable, or perhaps unrelenting. Wretched? Inevitable. She sighed. Definitely inevitable. An inevitable compulsion. How long had she lived in this house? 15 years? 15 years. 15 years and a few months atop that, and she was still searching for those bloody jewels. One would think she'd given up by now. Certainly, anyone else would have given up by now. She was, she had to admit, the most ridiculously stubborn person of her own acquaintance. Except perhaps her own daughter. Hyacinth had never told Isabella about the jewels, if only because she knew that Isabella would join in the search, and with an unhealthy fervor to rival her own. She hadn't told her son George either, because he would tell Isabella, and Hyacinth would never get that girl married off if she thought there was a fortune in jewels to be found in her home. Not that Isabella would want the jewels for fortune's sake. Hyacinth knew her daughter well enough to realize that in some matters, possibly most, Isabella was exactly like her. And Hyacinth's search for the jewels had never been about the money they might bring. Oh, she freely admitted that she and Gareth could use the money, and could have done with it even more so a few years back. But it wasn't about that. It was the principle. It was the glory. It was the desperate need to finally clutch those bloody rocks in her hand and shake them before her husband's face and say, See, I haven't been mad all these years. Gareth had long since given up on the jewels. They probably didn't even exist, he told her. Someone had surely found them years earlier. They'd lived in Clare House for 15 years, for heaven's sake. If Hyacinth was going to find them, she'd have located them by now. So why did she continue to torture herself? An excellent question. Hyacinth gritted her teeth together as she crawled across the washroom floor for what was surely the 800th time in her life. She knew all that. Lord help her, she knew it. But she couldn't give up now. If she gave up now, what did that say about the past 15 years? Wasted time? All of it? Wasted time? She couldn't bear the thought. Plus, she really wasn't the sort to give up, was she? If she did, it would be so completely at odds with everything she knew about herself. Would that mean she was getting old? She wasn't ready to get old. Perhaps that was the curse of being the youngest of 8 children. One was never quite ready to be old. She leaned down even lower, planting her cheek against the cool tile of the floor so that she could peer under the tub. No old lady would do this, would she? No old lady would... Ah, there you are, Hyacinth. It was Gareth, poking his head in. He did not look the least bit surprised to find his wife in such an odd position, but he did say, "It's been several months since your last search, hasn't it?" She looked up. "I thought of something." "Something you hadn't already thought of?" "Yes," she ground out, lying through her teeth. "Checking behind the tile?" he queried politely. "Under the tub," she said reluctantly, moving herself into a seated position. He blinked, shifting his gaze to the large claw-footed tub. "Did you move that?" he said, his voice incredulous. She nodded. It was amazing the sort of strength one could summon when properly motivated. He looked at her, then at the tub, then back again. "No, it's not possible. You didn't. I did. You couldn't. I could," she said, beginning to enjoy herself. She didn't get to surprise him these days nearly as often as she would have liked. "Just a few inches," she admitted. He looked back over at the tub. "Maybe just one," she allowed. For a moment, she thought he would simply shrug his shoulders and leave her to her endeavors, but then he surprised her by saying, "Would you like some help?" It took a few minutes to ascertain his meaning. "With the tub?" she asked. He nodded, crossing the short distance to the edge of its basin. "If you can move it an inch by yourself," he said, "surely two of us can triple that, or more." Hyacinth rose to her feet. "I thought you didn't believe that the jewels are still here." "I don't, but you do, and surely this must fall within the realm of husbandly duties." "Oh." Hyacinth swallowed, feeling a little guilty for thinking him so unsupportive. "Thank you." He motioned for her to grab a spot on the opposite side. "Did you lift or shove?" "Shove, with my shoulder actually." She pointed to a narrow spot between the tub and the wall. "I wedged myself in there, then hooked my shoulder right under the lip and—" But Gareth was already holding his hand up to stop her. "No more," he said. "Don't tell me. I beg of you." "Why not?" He looked at her for a moment long before answering, "I don't really know, but I don't want the details." "Very well." She went to the spot he'd indicated and grabbed the lip. "Thank you anyway." "It's my—" He paused. "Well, it's not my pleasure, but it's my something." She smiled to herself. He really was the best of husbands. 3 attempts later, however, it became apparent that they were not going to budge the tub in that manner. "We're going to have to use the wedge and shove method," Hyacinth announced. "It's the only way." Gareth gave her a resigned nod, and together they squeezed into the narrow space between the tub and the wall. "I have to say," he said, bending his knees and planting the soles of his boots against the wall, "this is all very undignified." "This should really count for something," he murmured. "I beg your pardon?" "This." He motioned with his hand, which could have meant just about anything, as she wasn't quite certain whether he was referring to the wall, the floor, the tub, or some particle of dust floating through the air. "As gestures go," he continued, "it's not too terribly grand, but I would think, should I ever forget your birthday, for example, that this ought to go some distance in restoring myself to your good graces." Hyacinth lifted a brow. "You couldn't do this out of the goodness of your heart?" "I could, and in fact I am, but no one knows when—" "Oh, for heaven's sake," Hyacinth muttered, "you do live to torture me, don't you?" "It keeps the mind sharp," he said affably. "Very well. Shall we have at it?" She nodded. "On my count," he said, bracing his shoulders. 1, 2, 3. With a heave and a groan, they both put all of their weight into the task, and the tub slid recalcitrantly across the floor. The noise was horrible, all scraping and squeaking, and when Hyacinth looked down, she saw unattractive white marks arching across the tile. "Oh dear," she murmured. Gareth twisted around, his face creasing into a peeved expression when he saw that they moved the tub a mere 4 inches. "I would have thought we'd have made a bit more progress than that." "It's heavy," she said rather unnecessarily. For a moment he did nothing but blink at the small sliver of floor they'd uncovered. "What do you plan to do now?" he asked. Her mouth twisted slightly in a somewhat stumped expression. "I'm not sure. Check the floor, I imagine." "You haven't done so already?" And then when she didn't answer in, half a second, he added, "In the 15 years since you moved here?" "I've felt along the floor, of course," she said quickly, since it was quite obvious that her arm fit under the tub. "But it's just not the same as a visual inspection, and—" "Good luck," he cut in, rising to his feet. "You're leaving? Do you wish for me to stay?" She hadn't expected him to say, but now that he was here, yes. Why not? He smiled at her, and then the expression was so warm and loving, and best of all familiar. "I could buy you a diamond necklace," he said softly, sitting back down. She reached out, placed her hand on his. I know you could. They sat in silence for a minute, and then Hyacinth scooted herself closer to her husband, letting out a comfortable exhale as she eased against his side, letting her head rest on his shoulder. Do you know why I love you? She said softly. His fingers laced through hers. Why? You could have bought me a necklace, she said, and you could have hidden it. She turned her head so just so she could kiss the curve of his neck. Just so that I could have found it. You could have hidden it, but you didn't. And don't say you never thought of it, she said, turning back so that she was once again facing the wall, just a few inches away. But her head was on his shoulder, and he was facing the same wall. And even though they weren't looking at each other, their hands were still entwined, and somehow the position was everything a marriage should be. Because I know you, she said, feeling a smile growing inside. I know you, and you know me, and it's just the loveliest thing. He squeezed her hand and then kissed the top of her head. If it's here, you'll find it. She sighed. Or die trying. He chuckled. That shouldn't be funny, she informed him. But it is. I know. I love you, he said. I know. And really, what more could she want? Meanwhile, 6 feet away. Isabella was quite used to the antics of her parents. She accepted the fact that they tugged each other into dark corners with far more frequency than was seemly. She thought nothing of the fact that her mother was one of the most outspoken women in London, or that her father was still so handsome that her own friends sighed and stammered in his presence. In fact, she rather enjoyed being the daughter of such an unconventional couple. Oh, on the outside, they were all that proper, to be sure, with only the nicest sort of reputation for high-spiritedness. But behind the closed doors of Clare House, Isabella knew that her friends were not encouraged to share their opinions as she was. Most of her friends were not even encouraged to have opinions. And certainly most young ladies of her acquaintance had not been given the opportunity to study modern languages, nor to delay a social debut by 1 year in order to travel on the continent. So when all was said and done, Isabella thought herself quite fortunate as pertained to her parents. And if that meant overlooking the occasional episodes of not acting one's age, well, it was worth it, and she'd learned to ignore much of their behavior. But when she sought out her mother this afternoon to acquiesce on the matter of the white gown with the dullish green trim, she might add, and instead found her parents on the washroom floor pushing a bathtub, well, really, that was a bit much, even for the St. Clairs. And who would have faulted her for remaining to eavesdrop? Not her mother, Isabella decided as she leaned in. There was no way Hyacinth St. Clair would have done the right thing and walked away. One couldn't live with a woman for 19 years without learning that. And as for her father, well, Isabella rather thought he would have stayed to listen as well, especially as they were making it so easy for her, facing the wall as they were, with their backs to the open doorway, indeed with bathtub between them. What do you plan to do now? Her father was asking, his voice laced with the particular brand of amusement he seemed to reserve for her mother. I don't know, her mother replied, sounding uncharacteristically, well, not unsure, but certainly not as sure as usual. Check the floor, I imagine. Check the floor? What on earth were they talking about? Isabella leaned forward for a better listen, just in time to hear her father ask, You haven't done so already, in the 15 years since you moved here? I felt along the floor, her mother retorted, sounding much like herself, but it's not the same as visual inspection, and good luck, her father said, and then, oh no, he was leaving. Isabella started to scramble, but then something must have happened because he sat back down. She inched back toward the open doorway. Carefully now. He could get up at any moment. Holding her breath, she leaned in, unable to take her eyes off of the backs of her parents' heads. I could buy you a diamond necklace, her father said. A diamond necklace? A diamond? 15 years? Moving a tub? In the washroom? 15 years. Her mother had searched for 15 years. For a diamond necklace? A diamond necklace. A diamond... Oh, dear God. What was she gonna do? What was she going to do? She knew what she must do, but good God, how was she supposed to do it? And what could she say? What could she possibly say to... Forget that now. Forget it, because her mother was talking again, and she was saying, "You could have just bought me a necklace, and you could have hidden it, just so that I could have found it. You could have hidden it, but you didn't." There was so much love in her voice. It made Isabella's heart ache, and something about it seemed to sum up everything that her parents were, to themselves, to each other, to their children, and suddenly the moment was too personal to spy upon, even for her. She crept from the bathroom, then ran to her own chamber, sagging into a chair just as soon as she had closed the door, because she knew what her mother had been looking for so very long. It was sitting in the bottom drawer of her desk, and it was more than a necklace. It was an entire parure, a necklace, bracelet, and ring, a veritable shower of diamonds, each stone framed by 2 delicate aquamarines. Isabella had found them when she was 10, hidden in a small cavity behind one of the Turkish tiles in the nursery washroom. She should have said something about them. She knew that she should, but she hadn't, and she wasn't even sure why. Maybe it was because she had found them. Maybe because she loved having a secret. Maybe it was because she hadn't thought they belonged to anyone else, or indeed that anyone knew of their existence. Certainly she hadn't thought that her mother had been searching for 15 years. Her mother! Her mother was the last person anyone would imagine was keeping a secret. No one would think ill of Isabella for not thinking, when she discovered the diamonds, "Oh, surely my mother must be looking for these, and has chosen, for her own devious reasons, not to tell me about it." Truly, when all was said and done, this was really her mother's fault. If Hyacinth had told her that she was searching for jewels, Isabella would have immediately confessed. Or if not immediately, then soon enough to satisfy everyone's conscience. And now, speaking of her consciences, hers was beating a nasty little tattoo in her chest. It was a most unpleasant and unfamiliar feeling. It wasn't that Isabella was the soul of sweetness and light, all sugary smiles and pious platitudes. Heavens no. She avoided such girls like the plague. But by the same token, she rarely did anything that was likely to make her feel guilty afterward, if only because perhaps, and only perhaps, her notions of propriety and morality were ever so slightly flexible. But now, she had a lump in the pit of her stomach. A lump with peculiar talent for sending bile up her throat. Her hands were shaking, and she felt ill. Not feverish, not even ague, just ill with herself. Letting out an uneven breath, Isabella rose to her feet and crossed the room to her desk, a delicate rococo piece her namesake great-grandmother had brought over from Italy. She put the jewels there 3 years back, when she'd finally moved out of the top-floor nursery. She discovered a secret compartment at the back of the bottom drawer. This hadn't particularly surprised her. There seemed to be an uncommon number of secret compartments in the furniture at Clare House, much of which had been imported from Italy. But it was a boon, and rather convenient, and so one day, when her family was off at some ton function they had deemed Isabella too young to attend, she'd sneak back up to the nursery, retrieve the jewels from their hiding place behind the tile, which she had resourcefully plastered back up, and move them to her desk. They had remained there ever since, except for the odd occasion when Isabella took them out and tried them on, thinking how nice they would look with her new gown. But how was she to explain their existence to her parents? Now it seemed that no explanation would have been necessary, or perhaps just a different sort of explanation. A very different sort. Settling into the desk chair, Isabella leaned down and retrieved the jewels from the secret compartment. They were still in the same corded velvet bag in which she'd found them. She slid them free, letting them pool luxuriously on the desktop. She didn't know much about jewels, but surely these had to be of the finest quality. They caught the sunlight with an indescribable magic, almost as if each stone could somehow capture the light and then send it showering off in every direction. Isabella didn't like to think herself greedy or materialistic, but in the presence of such treasure, she understood how diamonds can make a man go a little bit mad. or why women longed so desperately for one more piece, one more stone that was bigger, more finely cut than the last. But these did not belong to her. Maybe they belonged to no one, but if anyone had a right to them, it was most definitely her mother. Isabella didn't know why or how Hyacinth knew of their existence, but that didn't seem to matter. Her mother had some connection to the jewels, some sort of important knowledge, and if they belonged to anyone, they belonged to her. Reluctantly, Isabella slid them back into the bag and tightened the gold core so that none of the pieces could slip out. She knew what she had to do. She knew exactly what she had to do. But after that, the torture would be in waiting. 1 year later. It had been 2 months since Hyacinth had last searched for the jewels, but Gareth was busy with some sort of estate matter. She had no good books to read, and well, she just felt itchy. This happened from time to time. She'd go months without searching, weeks and days without even thinking about the diamonds. And then something would happen to remind her, to start her wondering, and there she was again, obsessed and frustrated, sneaking about the house so that no one would realize what she was up to. And the truth was, she was embarrassed. No matter how one looked at it, she was at least a little bit of a fool. Either the jewels were hidden away at Clare House and she hadn't found them, despite 16 years of searching, or they weren't hidden, and she'd been chasing a delusion. She couldn't even imagine how she might explain this to her children. The servants surely thought her more than a little bit mad. It all caught her snooping about a washroom at one point or another. And Gareth? Well, he was sweet and he humored her, but all the same, Hyacinth kept her activities to herself. It was just better that way. She'd chosen the nursery washroom for this afternoon's search. Not for any particular reason, of course, but she finished her systematic search of all the servants' washrooms, always an endeavor that required some sensitivity and finesse. And before that, she'd done her own washroom, and so the nursery seemed a good choice. After this, she'd moved to some of the second-floor washrooms. George had moved into his own lodgings, and if there really was a merciful God, Isabella would be married before long, and Hyacinth would not have to worry about anyone stumbling upon her as she poked pride and quite possibly pulled the tiles from the walls. Hyacinth put her hands on her hips and took a deep breath as she surveyed the small room. She always liked it. The tiling was, or at least appeared to be, Turkish, and Hyacinth had to think that the Eastern peoples must enjoy far less sedate lives than the British, because the colors never failed to put her in a splendid mood. All royal blues and dreamy aquas with streaks of yellow and orange. Hyacinth had been to the south of Italy once, to the beach. It looked exactly like this room, sunny and sparkly in ways that the shores of England never seemed to achieve. She squinted at the crown molding, looking for cracks or indentations, and dropped to her hands and knees for her usual inspection of the lower tiles. She didn't know what she hoped to find, what might have suddenly made an appearance that she hadn't detected during the other, at least a dozen previous searches. But she had to keep going. She had to, because she simply had no choice. There was something inside of her that would just not let go, and she stopped. Blinked. What was that? Slowly, because she couldn't quite believe that she found anything new. It had been over a decade since any of her searches had changed in any measurable manner. She leaned in. A crack. It was small. It was faint. But it was definitely a crack running from the floor to the top of the first tile, about 6 inches up. It wasn't the sort of thing most people would notice, but Hyacinth wasn't most people, and sad as it sounded, she had practically made a career of inspecting washrooms. Frustrated with her inability to get really close, she shifted to her forearms and knees, then laid her cheek against the floor. She poked the tile to the right of the crack, then the left. Nothing happened. She stuck her fingernail at the edge of the crack and dug it in. A tiny piece of plaster lodged under her nail. A strange excitement began to build in her chest, squeezing, fluttering, rendering her almost incapable of drawing breath. "Calm down," she whispered, even though those words coming out on a shake. She grabbed the little chisel she always took with her on her searches. It's probably nothing. She jammed the chisel in the crack, surely with more force than was necessary. and then she twisted it. If one of the tiles was loose, the torque could cause it to press outward and oh! The tile quite literally popped out, landing on the floor with a clatter. Behind it was a small cavity. Hyacinth squeezed her eyes shut. She'd waited her entire adult life for this moment, and now she couldn't even bring herself to look. Please, she whispered, please. She reached in. Please, oh please. She touched something soft like velvet. With shaking fingers she drew it out. It was a little bag, held together with a soft, silky cord. Hyacinth straightened slowly, crossing her legs so that she was sitting Indian style. She slid one finger inside the bag, widening the mouth, which had been pulled tight. And then with her right hand, she upended it, sliding the contents into her left. Oh my god. Gareth! She shrieked. Gareth! I did it! She whispered, gazing down at the pool of jewels now spilling from her left hand. I did it. And then she bellowed it. I did it! She looped the necklace around her neck, still clutching the bracelet and ring in her hand. I did it, I did it, I did it! She was singing it now, hopping up and down, almost dancing, almost crying. I did it! Hyacinth. It was Gareth, out of breath from taking 4 flights of stairs 2 steps at a time. She looked up at him, and she could swear she could feel her eyes shining. I did it! She laughed almost crazily. I did it! For a moment, he could do nothing but stare. His face grew slack, and Hyacinth thought he might actually lose his footing. I did it, she said again. I did it. And then he took her hand, took the ring, and slipped it onto her finger. So you did, he said, leaning down to kiss her knuckles. So you did. Meanwhile, 1 floor down. Gareth! Isabella looked up from the book she was reading, glancing toward the ceiling. Her bedchamber was directly below the nursery, rather in line with the washroom, actually. I did it! Isabella turned back to her book, and she smiled. The end. Wow. And there you have it. 370 pages later, or give or take. The end of It's in His Kiss. All right, final thoughts. It was kind of cool that when she discovered the tile, right? The tile was the same, like the sequence of her cracking it open and everything. I don't know if you guys noticed, but it's literally the same words that they used for Isabella, you know, about her shifting to her hands and knees, sitting Indian style, blah, 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 blah. Isn't that neat? There were minor differences, but not too many. It was starting to drag there at the end with Isabella a little bit. I think it's neat that Isabella allowed her mom to find it. However, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I needed a little bit more.
Water.
Just a little more. But I do think it was starting to drag there at the end. Thank you for the hydrate check. They would have had it mad sooner. Yeah. I get why Hyacinth didn't tell Isabella. It makes perfect sense to me. I do think with Isabella's... Well, hold on. It would have been cool if Isabella got to read the diary too, but I also get why they didn't, because then she would know about Garrett's bloodline, maybe, and she would also know about the diamonds, so that makes sense. Thank you for the hydrate tech. I did drink water, in case I didn't make it loud enough. The part with her and Gareth in the tub was cute. I thought it was sweet how they described that the way they were sitting was everything a marriage should be. That was nice. I liked that. All in all, it was a very cute story. You heard it all good. Awesome. Okay, so let me just go ahead and rank these books really quick. Let me open it up because they have them all written. Okay. Coming in at number 1, my very favorite of all the Bridgerton books is without a doubt An Offer from a Gentleman. That Smek scene was a little, well, I have to say I read it, but I also kind of paraphrased just a tad bit. Some of it was a little too much for me to want to say out loud to you guys. Sorry. But they're usually a lot worse, it felt like. That one was shorter than the other ones, so that was nice. But my number one favorite book out of the Bridgerton series, right? I've read 1 through 7. My favorite book was book number 3, An Offer from a Gentleman, which was Sophie and Benedict's book. Okay. My second favorite book is probably The Viscount Who Loved Me, which was Antony and Kate. And that was book number 2. My third favorite book is To Sir Philip with Love, and that was Eloise and Sir Philip, and that was book number 5. My fourth favorite book is book number 6, When He Was Wicked, which is Francesca and John. My fifth favorite is The Duke and I, which was Daphne and Simon's book, although I have to say even that kind of feels wrong because it was fake dating, but I guess I enjoyed the writing of it more, and that was the first book in the series. My sixth favorite book is this one that I just read. It's In His Kiss, so Hyacinth and Gareth. And my least favorite so far, coming in at number 7, is book number 4, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which was Colin and Penelope. So, but truthfully, Sophie and Benedict's book blows them all out of the water. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick 5-minute break just to, I don't know, just take a quick 5-minute break. And when we return, I'm gonna play one game of Hearthstone, and then we will get this stream wrapped up. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. The next time we will be reading is this Sunday. We're going to be starting The Stationery Shop, which was rated a 10 out of 10 by Claude for books that I would like. And it's supposed to be sad and make me cry, which I love. So maybe you'll get some toasty tears. Hi, Mages Cringe. Welcome in. All right, I will be back in 5 minutes. Yeah. Enjoy the tunes and see you very soon. Alright, y'all. We are back. What'd you do during the break? Did you stand up? Did you get water? Did you stare off into the void? I want to know. If you don't want to tell me, totally fine. Keep your secrets. But I do love it when you share. Why am I... Okay, I guess that's okay. I'm like looking at myself. Looks like I'm starting to lag. I hope not. Anyways, y'all, let's get into it. We're gonna get into this last game. Hello. Don't do this to me, please. I just want you to work for just a little longer. Oh, and I have some exciting news. You paced around your house to take a break from painting. Nice. I love that. I have some very exciting news. Are you ready? Toasty decided to get herself a Switch 2 so I can play Pocopia. Yay! Woo! I'm gonna do my best to set it up before tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see, right? We're just gonna see. We'll see what happens. But I wanted it. I work hard, so I bought it. And that is the tea. I rarely, if ever, deny myself anything, guys. I mean, what's the point of working this dang job if I'm not gonna, like, enjoy the fruits of my labor? So, yay! Woo! Hooray! We did it! So, I'm gonna do my best to set up Pocopia before tomorrow. And if I don't, know that it'll definitely be in the rotation next week. Wee! Treat yourself. Treat myself indeed. Treating myself indeed, indeed, indeed. And that is the tea. Oh my gosh, come on. There we go. Visit an extra time warp on a random turn this game. Okay, hello, Bayo. Hi, how are ya? I don't like playing undeads, so I'm not doing that. But I will just play this guy, because he's there. Oh, how are you, Bayo? We finished the book. It was kind of whack, but it's fine. I always say like, oh, I'm not gonna blah 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 blah, but then I end up just treating myself anyways, guys. So could have been whacker. You right. It could have been whacker. You know what I really want? Ugh, a cruise or a vacation. But unfortunately, I don't have the leave. That other book was worse. It was. How are you, Bayo? What's new? What's new in the world of Bayo? I was thinking of reading one of the Bridgerton books. Which one would you recommend? I was thinking of starting with book 1. So I read them in order, Bayo, but the best one, and it remains undefeated, the best book is book number 3, An Offer from a Gentleman, which is Benedict and Sophie's book. It's book number 3, but season 4 in the Bridgerton world. If you're only gonna read one, if you're only gonna watch one season, let it be Benedict and Sophie's, please. But I guess it kind of all depends on what you like, right? Like, for example, if you like the fake dating trope, you'll really love book number 1, right? So it just kind of depends. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for. I feel like am I lagging behind a little bit? I really need to fix my things. Toast. Alright, who do we got? What is this? No. Maybe we'll try to go a little bit of mechs. Let's just do it. Beat up my PC. Honestly, I need to fix it, and I tell myself, fix it, but I don't. Money? It's too late, PSO addict. It's too late. I already decided I want to be a mechs girl. What's broken? I don't know. I just feel like sometimes it doesn't handle things as well as I need it to, you know? It used to not have this problem. Maybe I'm not doing my updates. I bet you that's what it is. Because the only time What on earth? I have no idea what I'm looking for. I just want to know what the hype is about. That or Morning Glory Milking Farm. What even is that, Bayo? And yes, it does need to be cleaned soon, Coon. I know that much for a fact. It doesn't have a ton of dust, but it does have some. So you know what? I'm gonna put that on my list. La liste. Europe, could you add that to my list? Please don't tell her what it is. I'm gonna look it up. Let's Google it, shall we? But because of that title, I'm going to put my phone on private mode. Or incognito. Morning Glory. What is it called? I already done forgot. Milking Farm. Stop, Billy, no. Why? Wow. Wow. Yeah, you know, if that's what you want, buddy. If that's what you want to read, go forth and fill yourself with wonder and whimsy, I suppose. You know what? We're actually gonna go with this one. That's crazy. You're trying to save me? Someone save me if you will, and take away all these pills and please just save me. Does anyone know that song? If anyone can tell me without Googling it who the artist of that song is, you will get $1 toasty dollar. You hated it when you found out. Me too. Anyways, the hype. What'd you say? You'll go with my recommendation, book number 3. That is a Monster Smoke book. High School Musical. Wrong. What was I saying? I vote everyone reads The Expanse because I'm a shill. What is a shill? I want to say Soundgarden, but I know it's wrong. That is wrong, but you're in the realm, Yerp. You're in the realm. You're in the realm. Hold on, hold on. I got a candle, and I got a spoon. With no door.
T1, T4N, nearing completion.
A shill is a person who acts enthusiastic about a product to help it get sold. Oh, wow. Then I suppose I'm one of those for many things. You're like, it's not Savage Garden. No. Shine down. Very good, Europe. Did you look it up? Did you cheat? The Song of Ice and Fire has been a series I've been meaning to read too. I heard Game of Thrones barely scratches the surface. I want to read that, but it's so long. I cannot think about it. I can't think. It feels like it's long. I feel like it would be a long read, and also I don't know that I'm much of a fantasy reader. You know, I want to be, but I used to be. Sometimes I am. It has to be like really, really good for me to get into it. Normally it's in the context of a scam, but the joke is I constantly shill for the series. Is it a verb? Is shill a verb? You had to go to the depth of your memory. Oh, I see. No, I entered my mind palace. I think A Song of Fire and Ice is kind of overall. Okay, okay. I used to listen to that album all the time on my MP3. Nice. I'm not a fantasy reader. What genre do I prefer? Romance. On your Zune? My dad had a Zune and he loved it.
I see you can make the most of
I think I'm gonna go with these two, honestly.
It's your time now.
T1, T4N, nearing completion.
I didn't like that one either. Here's a gold for the trouble.
I am a romance girl, but all romances are not created equal. For example, I can't stand me a fake dating trope. It's just not for me, you know? It doesn't happen in real life, and that's why I hate it. The Samsung juke and that shot made you the coolest kid. You are cool. Hate? No, I said, well, I didn't say I hate this game, but I hate the fake dating trope. You're a sci-fi and space opera reader. Space opera? Not a hip-hopera? No, I'm just kidding. Read The Expanse? Yeah, ask Soon-kun, Vader. Hi, Vader. But yes, I am a romance reader, but I also don't mind when a romance is not 100% a romance. For example, The Girl You Left Behind dealt with some heavy historical stuff that I really liked. What else did I like? Am I winning? I'm trying. Hi TC, welcome in. Get him, Toaster, beat him up, I'm trying. Best space opera I've ever read. I don't even know, like, what makes it a space opera? I need to know. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? I don't want this one. He keeps trying to sell it to me though.
It's your time now.
Okay, hang on. I have the technology. I will keep this, and we're gonna pick this up. We're also gonna do this, and hopefully it gets hit ASAP. We're gonna try to hang on to this little guy for this guy. Bam. And I guess you, and I don't really want to put anything on you yet, but I don't know. We'll just see what happens. What are we saying? What are we saying? How are you, TC? Oh, that's a cute emote. They sing. It's gotta be like Star Wars to be a space opera. They sing in Italian. Sorry, I don't speak Italian. Like in Star Wars musical. Space opera. Space opera. I don't know how to not say opera. Opera is just like the traditional space sci-fi you see a lot with like Star Wars, Star Trek, etc. Okay. The Expanse is like a mix of that and hard sci-fi. So there's some romance in it. That is a burlesque show in Las Vegas. I love a good burlesque show. Get some adobo. I'm friends with a lot of Filipinos. Lumpia, adobo. Have you seen that clip, TC? I need to know. I hope you know what I'm referencing and I'm not just saying these things and it's like not read. Oh, you haven't? Dude, go look up right now, please. Everybody, look up Cameron Diaz Filipino. And that should be enough. That should be enough to pull up this stupid clip. She's like, I'm friends with a lot of Filipinos. Have I seen the Oob Starbucks girl? Of course I have. And it's a damn shame, isn't it? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I grew up with a lot of Filipinos. Every time I see that clip, I'm like tickled by it. I just think it's funny. Adobo, lumpia. I ate it every day. Like, why are you talking like that, girl? Oob. Come with me. Come with me to try the new Oob latte from Starbucks, which I had and it's awful. Wait, that sounds more familiar. Now she kills that accent. She does. You love Oob? Stop! Stop calling it Oob! Stop calling it Oob! What? It's Ube! I just love me a romance. Oob is great. Get out. Come on, guys. Ooh, baby, I love the way. Ube D's. Ooby dooby doo. Where are you? I'm probably not even gonna need this guy for much longer. As my people get more beefy, it's hard to get them to die.
Everyone's gunning for you.
Boob.
Watch out.
Boobay? Michael Bublé? What even is this? Deal 8. Oh no! How dare this person also try to go max? Bubble. Bublé or bubble? No. Oh, I hate you so much. I do love ube though. I make these ube waffles that slap. Ube waffles sound delicious. I love me an ube treat. I feel like if it's on the menu, I have to order it. I can't believe this loser's going max. Like, dude, this is my turf. But it's fine. I'll have my revenge. PSO Addict, are you here right now? Yeah, you are. Which one? Should I pick this one? This one? Please just tell me which of the time warps I should get, PSO. And stop playing around. No! I don't have a lot of time. PSO Addict, come on. Stop playing around. Get a bet boxer? What?
Time is infinite. The rope is not.
But I might not get it. What if I don't get that one? Alright, let's try it.
A timeless spectacle.
Okay, hang on. First off, I need to sell this because I'm not going to keep it, right? And let's just do this to see what comes up. We're going to pick you up. And I'll just give it to you because I know I'm holding on to you. Okay, now the real test. Look! I didn't even get it! Oh my god, wait. Wait a minute. Hold on. I feel like I need this one too. Oh my god. It's too late. I need to freeze this! Freeze it! You suck. You took my only food. Now I'm gonna starve. I guess I don't really need these if I have this guy. So those are gonna be the next to go, I guess. Oh, hell yeah, brother. Even though we lost this round. Why is everybody going max? Why? Like, come... Look, max. Max.
Welcome back. How's it going out there?
Who? Okay, hold on, guys. I have to think about what I'm doing.
I specialize in elven mech relations.
All will dance to my song.
Damn it!
T1T4N nearing completion.
Okay, hold on. You can come out here, right? I know this much. And honestly, I should probably have you out here too.
I am deeply unimpressed.
Wait! Wait, stop, stop, stop. Because I couldn't think of anything else, here we are. You gotta go. You gotta go, brother. This is not right. I'm messing this up. This is on me. He's going next. I don't even know why he's still here. Ah! I'm panicking. What are we saying? Oh my gosh. Space opera is defined. Oh. Science fiction defined by large-scale adventures and interstellar conflicts that prioritize storytelling often includes da 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 da. Who? Who's James Holden? Okay, guys, don't talk to me for a second while I just think. I have to get rid of you. You're like in the way, and you for sure should come out, right? Like that makes sense. Maybe you could go? Wait, you're kind of cool too. Oh my god, I'm getting too many options. It might be too late for you, buddy. This is called Apexis. Okay, for realsies, who goes next? Who goes next? Hurry up! You need to tell me. Maybe this one? Magnetize a random volumizer to this. This one's gotta go. He's going. You're coming out. It's too late. I already decided on the order of operations. Stop, stop, stop. Ah. We want Baron? Honey Bear's Den is slowly becoming a book club. My corruption is spreading and infecting the channel. That's good. Baron St. Clair. Oh no, we're dead here. It's over. Goodbye, cruel world and all who inhabit it. I don't think we're coming out of this. That really sucks. Wait, hang on. Hold the phone. Now pass the phone back to me. We did it! Yes! Can't keep a bad bee down. What do we got? Mex. Of course we do.
Nice work out there. Keep up the pressure.
Now you be like, gang. Gang. Dunk 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 gnarly dun 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 everything's gnarly. Na 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 na.
It's your time now.
Where are you, Baron? Where are you, pig?
It's your time now. See
Cheese. Well, this isn't even gonna matter because it's probably gonna have a divine shield on it anyways, but it's fine. We made top 3, which is more than I thought I would get. So honestly, I ain't even mad at it. I had to think about it, guys. Some of you might start reading the infamous Monster Smut books too. I will not be reading any Monster Smut books. Just don't think they're for me. Please, I hope this one dies before it hits this. Actually, it wouldn't really bother me too much, but what? I don't even understand what's happening. What even is this? Actually, it does kind of need to die. Why? 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 That's so annoying. I hate that it hit that one, but that's fine. We don't have the technology. We did not have the technology. You're so ugly. You are unlovable. Damn it, that's annoying.
Welcome back. How's it going out there?
I seem a bit upset. Yeah, I am. And I don't even have any tier 4 or belows. Do you know how irritating that is?
That'll do some damage.
I don't even know what I need to get rid of that guy. Oops, wrong one, but that's fine. What do I need to get ahead of this guy? Well, I'm probably not going to beat him. He's not lost once, so... Honey Bear, thoughts on what you will be reading next on the channel? It is going to be the stationery shop, and I put all the things inside of... all my books that I like inside of Claude, and Claude gave this one a 10 out of 10 for the books that I would like the most. So, this one. The Stationery Shop by Marianne Kamali. And at work, I'm currently reading The Light We Lost, which is also very good. I probably don't need that one anymore. Like, kind of good, I think. Maybe I should just throw a Leroy in there just for fun. You saw the new Frankenstein movie, so you're thinking of going and actually reading the book. You should. I've not read it, but I'm sure I'd like it. Whoa, he lost. Okay, let's see if we can't find...
Supreme executive power!
Damn it.
The light has left this place.
Maybe I'll get rid of you because nobody else really has a lot of magnetizations, you know? Like, only one guy really has them. And really, how much of a difference is it gonna make, you know? We're just gonna see. We're just gonna try it out. And you can come out. And I don't even know where this is gonna hit, so I'm just gonna set it there because I don't know what to do. accidentally put that on that one, but it's fine. If anyone has any other suggestions about where I should put this person, I really don't know. I know he had a Leroy too, which is really annoying. Or no, this person had the Leroy. I don't even know what this person is packing. That person has a name. Yes, they do. Honestly, I probably should have got rid of this one, but it's fine. You know, I ain't even mad at it. I made top 3. I'm just irritated that so many people went mechs. Ooh, the Leroy will be nice if it hits this one. I also like this. Please hit this one, Leroy. Leroy, if you know what's good for you, you're gonna hit this one. I hate you. Oh wait, we were never gonna win this. This one's humongous. That's so irritating. But you know what? It's okay, because top 3 ain't bad. Hey, Tomato King, welcome in. Oh my gosh, dude, I'm actually about to wrap it up. Yeah, toast on top. We're still gonna count it as a dub. We're gonna count it as a dub. I've been playing this game a lot less. Toast on third street. No, Tomato King, why? Why? In case you guys were wondering how my game went earlier, I just played this one, and at the gym, I got 4th. Oh, and I also played this the other day, although I think this was offline. And this was another one. But this one was offline. This one was, oh no, both of these are at the gym. Both of these were at the gym. And then this was just now. Alright guys, all good things must come to an end. And like always, the stream is not immune to it. But if you are sad about this stream ending, I get it. But do not fret, for I will be here tomorrow. What are we doing, we might be asking? I'm not sure yet. Maybe some Rewind 99 for sure. I'd like to finish that. I would like to have Pocopia set up actually. So Pocopia is at the top priority if I get it set up. If I don't, then I won't be doing that. And we will see. And that is the tea. I have it. I just bought it. I did. I rarely, if ever, deny myself anything. And I figured after what happened to me on Friday night, I deserve this. I deserve a treat. So now I have it. So yeah, if you don't know what happened Friday night, you can go back and watch the stream, for I do not wish to retell the tale. But that is the tea, guys. Let's see. Today we finished up reading book number 7. It's In His Kiss, the story of Hyacinth and Gareth St. Clair's love story. We have one more Bridgerton book yet, but I'm not going to get to it just yet. I'm going to read The Stationery Shop by Marianne Kamali, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. After that, I probably will read the last Bridgerton book, which is Gregory's book, Another Man. So that should be kind of cool. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's stream. As always, thank you so much for being here with me, because you could have been anywhere, but you're here with me, and I am so happy. Is it the last one ever? It's the last one I'm going to read. They have prequels, but I'm not going to read them. I'm just going to stop at this one. Because I'm kind of, you know? Let me think. Is there anything else that I need to tell you guys? Nar. I still don't have the date for when I'm going to celebrate my 3rd anniversary. So be on the lookout for when that's coming. I don't have it yet, but it will be coming down the pipeline. And also on Thursday, I should be meeting up with the collab buddies. I really hope I am, at least, because I miss them. When's the date? I don't have the date yet. It's coming. I just have to figure out what day. You know? So yeah. No, I'll be here tomorrow. I shall be here tomorrow. No, but like the actual anniversary. Is it May 15th? May 10th? Oh my gosh, don't look at me. I'm sorry. I have it written down below. May 10th. That's what it is. I literally had to sit and think about it. It's May 10th. May 15th is when I started my last job. So May 10th is my anniversary. It'll be my third one. So yup. Oh, that's a Sunday? Well, I guess I could do it then, but I wouldn't want to cut it short. So probably not Sunday. Anyways, guys, have a wonderful... Ain't there a holiday in May? There is. There's 2 holidays, but one with a day off. Okay, anyways, stop. I'm getting sidetracked. Good night and stay sweet, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your week if I don't see you again, but I sure hope I do. Bye, y'all.